Blessings to you, brothers and sisters. My name is Adam with Parable of the Vineyard, and this is the message that the Most High has put on my heart. Jerusalem will be destroyed again. Everything we discuss today will be in article form. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description box below and as a pinned comment. So Jerusalem, Mystery Babylon, the mother of all harlots, will be destroyed again according to the Torah and the prophets. Yet her identity remains hidden to the majority of his people today. Many are fully convinced that Rome, or the United States, is Mystery Babylon. However, if you are open to letting the scriptures speak for themselves, you will find out that none other than Jerusalem, that great city, has been prophesied to be destroyed once again in these end times. It'll be done in the sight of the nations, and some will rejoice, yet others will be very sorrowful. While many Christian prophets, teachers, and pastors are proclaiming our Heavenly Father's hand over Israel to protect them from total annihilation, I am here to share the exact opposite message in spirit and truth. Jerusalem will be destroyed again. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Today we'll discuss Mystery Babylon in great detail, spanning several topics within this subject. We will quickly begin with some secular research. However, the pillars of this study will be resting upon the scriptures to back up this controversial claim. Let's go over the table of contents. The truth is in plain sight, discussing the plans the enemy has openly declared, past and present, and how it relates to Mystery Babylon and the end times. Jerusalem will fall according to Messiah. In Luke 21, Messiah depicts the destruction of this great city as an end times marker and prerequisite to his return. She's drunk with the blood of the prophets. Revelation instructs us that Mystery Babylon is drunk with the blood of the prophets and saints, being guilty of shed blood. We will search the scriptures to reveal who is guilty of their blood, and even Messiah himself. Jerusalem and the double cup of wrath. Searching the Torah, the law, and prophets, we will see there is no other city who can be guilty of double. It's very specific. Mystery Babylon, that great city. This name for Babylon is used several times in the book of Revelation. If we search carefully enough, her identity is clearly disclosed. Jerusalem, the abomination made desolate. The abomination of desolation topic revisited without the doctrines of men reveals something incredibly thought-provoking. Babylon, the habitation of devils, dragons, and hateful birds. In Revelation 18, Mystery Babylon is said to be the habitation of these unclean birds. Examining the Torah and the prophets reveals one place alone. Mystery Babylon sits upon many waters. In Revelation 17, she is identified as a place that sits upon many waters. We will search this out, allowing the word to interpret itself, not geography. I sit a queen and am no widow. Though Mystery Babylon proclaims herself to be royalty, who sees no sorrow or widowhood, things are quite the opposite. The prophets reveal much of her identity through these key phrases. Mystery Babylon reigns over the kings of the earth. Who really runs things down here in the physical realm? Who has financed all sides of all wars since Napoleon? Who really owns all the banks, news outlets, and nearly every sector of entertainment? Perhaps this group reigns over the kings of the earth from the shadows, much like their father. The harlot's merchandise. Taking a closer look at the woman who was arrayed in purple and scarlet color reveals much more than the papacy. The city of seven hills, Rome, a city built on seven hills, much like another mystery city, Babylon. The inhabitants of the land at his return. Little-known prophecies tucked away within Jeremiah 4 and Isaiah 33 uncover something shocking regarding the people, or the inhabitants, who live in Jerusalem at the return of Yahweh. The Song of Moses, Exodus 15, a song of history and prophecy, also weighs in on the topic and should not be ignored. So let's get into it. The truth in plain sight. Before we dive into the scriptures, which again is the majority of this study, we need to discuss a few quick matters. It has become increasingly known that 9/11 or September 11th, 2001 was telegraphed or prophesied by those who control the mainstream media. I'm not going to go over all these individual scenarios, but it's very interesting to see that all throughout media you see many situations of explosions or even planes flying into these twin towers. I mean, it was all over media. I mean, look at this right here. I mean, this is just not I mean, if it was just one of these, maybe a coincidence, but all of these, there was definitely a plan here. So speaking of September, how about September 10th, 2024, the presidential debate? This is from Trump. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now, and I've been pretty good at predictions. I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because, listen to this, the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel. Israel will be gone. These are strong words. Trump predicted the entire area, more than likely a reference to the Levant, or maybe even the Middle East, will get blown up. All of it. What is predict? Well, it is to prognosticate or to prophesy. He said Israel will not exist within 2 years from now, and I've been pretty good at predictions. Trump simply verbalized the plan the elite, or so-called, have had for over 150 years. Tucked away within a letter written by Albert Pike, a Confederate general and master Freemason, to Giuseppe Mazzini, an Italian politician and triumvir of the Roman Republic in 1871. The letter was written regarding a plan involving 3 world wars that were outlined in an attempt to take over the world. Pike's letter to Mazzini was on display at the British Museum Library in London until 1977. This will be the last bit of secular research before we dive into the Word to truly test all things. So this is the letter. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the powers of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. And this is exact, brothers and sisters, do your own research. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but do your own research. If nothing else, just look up what's called the October Revolution or even the Bolshevik Revolution, and you'll see this is exactly how it went down. And it was written 30, 40 years before it happened. You can see here the Bolshevik Revolution was a revolution in Russia led by the Bolshevik Party, run by a certain group of people who we're going to be talking a lot about today, of Vladimir Lenin. That was a key moment in the larger Russian Revolution of 1917 to 1923. This changed everything in Russia, and the First World War went exactly according to their plan. Now here's the Second World War. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. Literally, this is the whole plan for World War II. It's disgusting, but literally World War II was fought just for this to happen right here. During the Second World War, international communism must be strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Let me just say this real quickly. I'm not here to say that this letter is, to talk about this letter. Whether this letter was legitimately written in 1871 or not doesn't matter. This is their plans written on paper, put out in public view. That's the point. And so this is exactly what happened with World War II. And this was the big fruit that came from it, was that a sovereign state of Israel was created in Palestine. A nation put in place by the elite to appear as the second regathering of Israel, spoken of by Jeremiah the prophet. However, the 1948 political state of Israel falls short of the promise on many levels. This is just one verse. I could share many verses that shows that the political state of Israel does not fulfill what the Most High prophesied of what that final regathering would look like. Jeremiah 23, 7-8 says, "Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yod-He Vav-He." This is, I understand, our Heavenly Father's name is Yahuwah. Some say Jehovah, Yahweh. This is just the best I understand it. So, therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that's our Heavenly Father, that they shall no more say, Yahuwah lives, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahuwah lives, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries where I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. And what's interesting about this is really the whole house of Israel has not been gathered into the land. It just hasn't. Plus, there's all the prophecies state that when they are in that final regathering, they'll be protected. There'll be peace. The nation will be in righteousness, led by Messiah himself. We don't see any of these things. And also, it says that part of this prophecy is that nobody will talk about the first Exodus anymore because this last one will be so big, no one will even talk about the first one anymore. The Exodus from Egypt thousands of years ago remains one of the most amazing bits of history to this day. The many promises of the final regathering paint a much different picture than what the fruit has displayed within this current political state of Israel. Now here we go. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the age and tour of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way, listen to this, that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Right? Here he is. This is what he said. He prefaced everything with, if Kamala gets in, but I'm here to say that he put this out there, that the elites had him put this out there to put truth in plain sight. It doesn't matter if she gets in or not, or if he gets in. I believe what he said is true. And I'm going to back it up with the scriptures, not because Donald Trump said so. I'm going to back it up by what the Most High said. And so he said, because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. Conversely, this is what America and a lot of the Christian nation is saying right here. He's saying here, Israel is on the map to stay. And I'm here to say, not so fast. And I think this is part of the deception here, is everyone thinks this because everyone believes that the Most High is going to protect Israel in this conflict. And I'm here to say that the law and the prophets say something completely else. Now here's the rest of the letter on World War III. We're almost done with this, and we're going to get straight into the scriptures. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists. We shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which, oh my goodness, if that's not happening right now, I don't know what is, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. So my question, isn't this social cataclysm happening right now as we speak? I mean, we're divided on everything, race and religion and politics and nationality and skin color, and I mean, just everything. Last bit right here. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirit, so like their spirit, right, will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, Satan, brought finally out in public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So isn't this interesting that literally the destruction of Israel and Palestine and the Arab world is going to, in their view, destroy Christianity? Why? Considering a large portion of Christianity is waiting for the third temple to be rebuilt so the Antichrist can stand inside of it and declare he is God, what will happen to the spiritual compass of many believers when Israel and the Levant or whole Middle East is annihilated, removing the hope of the third temple and consequently quelling or stopping the escalation of the end times? I mean, walk this out with me for a second, hypothetically. Let's say the political state of Israel is destroyed. What then do most pastors teach? What do most believers believe that very next day when it's been shoved down their throat since they're a child, because this Zionism movement thing has been going on for a long time, and this separation of Jews and Gentiles, which Paul ended that debate a long time ago in Galatians 3 when he says there is no Jew or Gentile, we're a one in Messiah. But we'll get to more of that later. But think about it. Explore that in your mind. What would happen to a large portion of Christianity if Israel is destroyed, considering they all believe that it'll be protected? What will the pastors say once Jerusalem is annihilated? Because they've been preaching Zechariah 12 that Jerusalem will be defended. Long story short, not to get into it right now, I do believe that Zechariah 12 is talking about the heavenly New Jerusalem when it comes down. That'll be protected, but that's for another time. So what will happen to the morale and faith of many Christians? Revelation 18:18, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Yahweh, again, our Heavenly Father, is in control. For those who are walking in faith and obedience to Him, there's no need to worry, as Yahweh is in control of all things. Nothing has slipped past Him, including this worldwide deception. Revelation 17:16-17, and the 10 horns which you saw upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Elohim has put in their hearts to fulfill His will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Elohim shall be fulfilled. Kind of like a Pharaoh prototype, or Pharaoh was kind of like a prototype for this. But nevertheless, Yahweh, nothing gets past him. It's not like Satan's got one over on him and Yahweh's like, oh no, what do I do now? He just made a really good chess move. How do I counter? Not at all. Not at all. He knows the end from the beginning. So here's more of their plans laid out in Ezekiel 36. And you, son of man, prophesy to the mountains of Israel. He's talking about the land here. And say, O mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh Elohim, because the enemy said of you, aha, the ancient heights have become our possession, right? So the enemy in the end times is going to own the land. Listen to this. Therefore prophesy and say, thus says Yahweh Elohim. By the way, Elohim is the Hebrew word for God. So you may see Elohim quite a few more times. That just means God. Thus says Yahweh Elohim, precisely because they made you desolate and crushed you from all sides, so that, listen, you became a possession to the rest of the nations, and you became the talk and evil gossip of the people. Therefore, O mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh Elohim. Thus says Yahweh Elohim to the mountains, to the hills, the ravines, the valleys, the desolate wastes, the deserted cities, listen to this, which have become a prey and derision to the rest of the nations all around. Therefore, thus says Yahweh Elohim, surely I have spoken in my hot jealousy against the rest of the nations and against all Edom, which, that's a whole other topic about Edom in the state of Israel right now, who gave my land to themselves as a possession with wholehearted joy and utter contempt, listen, that they might make its pasture lands a prey. So literally what this is saying is the enemy is going to own this land to literally cast it out as a prey. What's a prey? Look at number 3. This is what an object or victim of an attack. Jerusalem will fall according to Messiah in the end times. By the way, this picture here shows you a Muslim presence all around this political state of Israel here. Now listen to this. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that its desolation is near. Desolation is destruction, utter destruction. This is what Messiah said for the end times. When you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that its desolation is near. Literally, this whole study could just be summarized with this passage here, but obviously we need to go with multiple witnesses. It says, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Listen, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So that was Luke 21, 20 through 22. So while many point to the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, we have to ask ourselves, were all things fulfilled then, or is there more prophecy yet to be satisfied? So people are saying, oh, that this Jerusalem thing, that's talking about 70 AD and when it got destroyed. But my question to you is, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things were written may be fulfilled. I'm asking you, were all things that were written fulfilled in 70 AD? I would say no. That's just where I'm at. So the fact remains, Messiah mentioned Jerusalem being made desolate as a notable end times marker and precursor to his coming. Here's just a few verses later in Luke 21, 25 through 28. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, which, a whole other topic. He's been showing us sign after sign in the heavens. And upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Isn't that been going on? That's really, especially these last few weeks. Men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, which remember just a few verses ago was Jerusalem being compassed by armies and then being destroyed, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws close. So we're going to come back to this point shortly. But let's look at the identity of Mystery Babylon according to Messiah, not according to me, not according to anyone else, not according to 50 different documentaries at 5 hours apiece. This is the identity of Mystery Babylon according to Messiah. And the subtopic of this is that she's drunk with the blood of the prophets. So let's read Revelation 17, 5 through 6. And upon her forehead, was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of all harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahusha. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now, let me ask you a question. Why, first of all, this is another key that I actually didn't even think about till just recently, and I didn't even put it in the study. But let me ask you a question. Why would John wonder with great admiration of this woman? Now, if he foresaw in time, if he saw like the United States, or would he be like, oh, great admiration? I mean, I don't know. Consider everyone in the biblical times had a fondness for Jerusalem. I think he saw Jerusalem here. Well, that's why he wondered with great admiration. But that's just a side thing. Let's talk about this mother of harlots who is drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahusha, right? Let's let the scriptures identify it, not our own mind. Let's let the scriptures identify it. So also in Revelation 18:24, it says, and in her, it is referencing Mystery Babylon, and in her was found the blood of the prophets and of saints, and listen to this, and of all that were slain upon the earth. This is very specific. While Rome and the United States have been certainly guilty of countless murders and much blood is on our head, the same can be said about Russia, China, the UK, and many others, lest we forget just some of the bloodshed in just the last 100 years. How about Russia and Stalin, 60 million murdered? How about China, Mao Zedong, 40 to 80 million murdered? This is just within the last 100 years. I think that's way more blood than what the United States is responsible for. I could be wrong. But in fact, this is just a small sample of some of the mass murders or genocides that have happened over the course of history. There's a list right here. And by the way, anytime you see red like this is a clickable link that you just click it and it'll take you over there. And for anyone that comes back and just looks at the article. Again, this article is basically all my study notes. So if I go too fast or you want to go revisit a point, you can always come back and take a look. So that there's no confusion, the scriptures are clear on this matter as Messiah Yahusha, and by the way, Yahusha is how I understand our Messiah's name. Most of us came to belief in salvation through the name Jesus. Some of us have learned that he was never called that when he was on this earth. The letter J was only invented 600 years ago, less than. And so anyways, a lot of us doing research have recognized that his name could have been, would have sounded more like Yeshua or Yahusha or Yahushua or Yehoshua. I don't condemn anyone that uses any of the name. This is just the name of our Messiah, that how I understand it in Hebrew. So let's go back. Sorry. So there's no confusion. The scriptures are clear in this matter as Messiah Yahusha himself speaks on it directly as to who exactly is guilty of all this blood. And just to clarify, when I'm talking about Messiah Yahusha, I am talking about the Messiah, the Son of the Most High, the one we read about in the gospel accounts, the one who our redemption is through. So this is Messiah. He's speaking to the Pharisees and Sadducees here in Matthew 23:30 through 38. A little bit longer of a passage, but this is incredibly important to the identity of who Messiah says is guilty of all the blood. Not me, not your favorite other YouTuber, but who Messiah says is guilty of all the blood. And I'll tell you right now, it's not the United States. This is the Messiah speaking, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would have not been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore you are witnesses unto yourselves, listen, that you are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill you up then the measure of your fathers. So basically, right, live up to your expectation here. You serpents, you generations of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets, wise men, and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify, and some of them you shall scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city. Listen, that upon you, and he's talking, who is he talking to here? Talking to the Yahudim. And when I say Yahudim, I'm talking about these people. I'm talking about the people that Messiah came to denunciate, the religious leaders of this religion here that still exists today. That upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily, I say it to you, all these things shall come upon this generation. Listen, he's identifying here, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that kill the prophets and stone them which are sent to you. How often I would have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathers her chicken under her wings, and you would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. Messiah pinpoints Jerusalem as being guilty of all the righteous blood shed upon the earth. How can we argue? It's also necessary to remember that Messiah calls Jerusalem desolate. This will be crucial to fully understanding Daniel 9 and the abomination of desolation later in this study. Luke 13:33, this is Messiah speaking, nevertheless, I must walk today and tomorrow and the day following, for it cannot be that a prophet perish out of Jerusalem. So let's reason together for a moment. If Messiah Yahushua, who we cannot argue with, states all the righteous bloodshed on the earth is upon her, Jerusalem, and that she's guilty of the death of Yahweh's prophets, where do you think this vengeance will be executed? Revelation 18:20, rejoice over her, you heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for Elohim has avenged you on her. Revelation 19:2, for true and righteous are his judgments, for he has judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and has avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. Pop quiz. Do you know who the first martyr of Yahushua was and where it happened? I'll pause, put it in the comments or in the live chat. Praise the Most High. So, it is Stephen. Sorry for this kind of weird picture from Wiki, but I just wanted to have a picture here that had this as well. So he died in Jerusalem. Now, this is Stephen speaking to the Yahudim in Jerusalem. Now, this word Yahudim, we're going to hear it quite a bit more. It's just because of algorithms and how YouTube works. We're just going to go with the Yahudim in Jerusalem. So this is Stephen speaking, which of the prophets have not your fathers persecuted, and they have slain them which showed before the coming of the just one? Listen, of whom you have been now the betrayers and murderers. That's Acts 7:57. Stephen speaking to the Yahudim in Jerusalem. Question, is there a group of people who are still guilty of sin and the righteous blood of Messiah to this very day? Matthew 23:35-36, that upon you, he's talking about Jerusalem, he's talking about the Yahudim in Jerusalem, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. So, question, if the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD was the result of the blood from Abel to Zechariah, what will be the resulting devastation for the innocent slain blood of Messiah and Stephen and the rest, who was also murdered in Jerusalem and not factored into this prophecy of ruin? This is instructions Yahushua gave to his apostles concerning the rejection of the gospel. Matthew 10:14-17, and whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. Verily I say unto you, listen, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves, but beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils and will scourge you in their synagogues. So he says here again, shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. So question, did Jerusalem reject the gospel of Yahushua? Matthew 21:42, Yahushua said to them, did you never read in the scriptures, he's talking to the Yahudim in Jerusalem, the stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. This is Yahweh's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. And there's many other passages that clearly show that the Yahudim as a whole rejected. Of course, many of the Yahudim believed and became part of the true fold and did not remain in the false religion of Yahudiism. So that Jerusalem did reject Messiah. So not a good outlook for Israel, filled with the children of the Pharisees who still reject the Son of Yahweh to this day. Consider Romans 9, which instructs us that anyone who rejected Yahushua, specifically the Yahudim, will be cut off from the olive tree that represents Israel. Side note, we are not here to condemn or to speak evil or speak down to these people, but to reveal truth. And let's pray for them. And I just want to share really quickly, as part of my testimony, is I came from these people, from the children of these Pharisees, from the children of these people that have continued in rejecting the Messiah and rejected the true faith. And I'm not here to condemn them as people, but I'm here to show what the scriptures truly reveal regarding who they are, their identity, and what happens to this land in the last days, because it's going to shake most people to the core, and they're not going to see it coming. John 15:5-6, Messiah says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abides in me, and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them to the fire, and they are burned. Messiah said that, not me. So while most people are taught that the Yahudim's practices are centered on the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, this is actually not the case. And I can speak intelligently on this because I grew up in this religion. They have the Torah all beautified and in this beautiful case, but that's not it all. 90%, maybe even more of their faith, their doctrine, their prayers, their behavior, what they do, how they serve Yah is through the Talmud and not the Torah. What's the Talmud, you ask? Right here from Wiki, the Talmud is, after the Hebrew Bible, the central text of rabbinic Yahudiism and the primary source of Yahudi religious law and Yahudi theology until the advent of modernity. In nearly all Yahudi communities, the Talmud was the centerpiece of Yahudi cultural life and was foundational to all Yahudi thought and aspirations, serving also as the guide for the daily life of Yahudim. The term Talmud normally refers to the collection of writings named specifically the Babylonian Talmud. How about that? Let's see. I don't even need the rest. But what does the Talmud, the central text for Yahudiism, say regarding our Messiah, the Son of Yahweh? This is Gittin 57a. This is right out of their religious book. Onkelos then went and raised Jesus the Nazarene from the grave through necromancy. Onkelos said to him, "Who is the most important in that world where you are now?" Jesus said to him, the Yahudim people. Onkelos said to him, "Should I then attach myself to them in this world?" Yehusha said to him, "Their welfare shall you seek, their misfortune you shall not seek. For anyone who touches them is as regarded if you were touching the apple of his eye." Onkelos said to him, "What is the punishment of that man?" A euphemism for Jesus himself in the next world. Jesus said to him, "He is punished with boiling excrement." If you don't know what that is, children, ask your parents. So, as the master said, anyone who mocks the words of the sages will be sentenced to boiling excrement. And this was his sin, as he mocked the words of the sages. The Gemara comments, "Come and see the difference between the sinners of Israel and the prophets of the nations of the world. As Balaam, who was a prophet, wished Israel harm, whereas Jesus the Nazarene, who was a Yahudi sinner, sought their well-being." So number one, the Talmud says Messiah is a sinner, first of all. Number two, it says that he is boiling an excrement in hell. And this is their book, right? And these are the people that people love and look to for guidance and worship in many different ways. John 7:19, Messiah says, "Did not Moses give you the Torah, the law, and yet none of you keeps the Torah? Why do you go about to kill me?" So people think that Messiah got all angry at the Pharisees for caring only about the law and not caring about the thing. They didn't even keep the law. They didn't keep the actual Torah. They kept their own man-made traditions. Proverbs 6:16 through 19, "There are 6 things Yahweh hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community." It's interesting that when you look at the gospel accounts, the Yahudim were guilty of literally all these things versus Messiah. "The children of those who killed the prophets and reject Messiah even to this day have been assembled in the land once more, perhaps not for the reason we've all been taught." And I'm talking about these people right here have been regathered in the land. So we're going to read Ezekiel 22:15 through 22. This is why I believe they've actually been gathered in the land. And it is from Yah. We'll say that. Listen to this. "And I will scatter you among the nations and disperse you among the lands, and I will eliminate your uncleanness for you." So I believe this is 70 AD, because this is not just the Yahudim going into Babylon for 70 years. This is talking about being scattered among all the nations and dispersed you. This is exactly what happened in 70 AD. So this is where we begin with this prophecy. So he's already prophesying 70 AD to happen. Now, then, keyword, then you will defile yourselves in the sight of the nations, and you will know that I am Yahweh. "And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, the house of Israel has become waste metal to me. All of them are bronze, tin, iron, and lead in the smelting furnace. They are the waste metal of silver." So they're not silver that needs to be refined. They're the waste metal of silver. They're the junk that falls off of the silver that is supposed to be thrown away. "Therefore, this is what Yahweh Elohim says, because you have all become waste metal, or dross. Therefore, behold, I am going to gather you into the midst of Jerusalem." Remember, 70 AD already happened in this prophecy for chronological order. Now he says, "I am going to gather you in the midst of Jerusalem. As they gather silver, bronze, iron, lead, and tin into the smelting furnace to blow fire on it and in order to melt it, so will I gather you in my anger and in my wrath, and I will place you there and melt you. Again, this is not a refining silver melting. This is destroying the waste metal that's called dross. And I will gather you and blow on you with the fire of my wrath, and you will be melted in the midst of it. As silver is melted in the furnace, so will you be melted in the midst of it, and you'll know that I, Yahweh, have poured out my wrath upon you. This is not correction. This is punishment. This is, I believe, the final punishment. We're going to get way more into this in the prophets here shortly. So let's not forget Yahusha's blood is on their hands. This is Matthew 27, 22 through 25. Pilate said to them, he's talking to the Yahudim out here, when the ones that are screaming for his death, right? Pilate said to them, what shall I do then with Yahusha, which is called Messiah? They all said to him, let him be crucified. And the governor said, why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but rather a tumult was made, or like a riot, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See you to it. Now listen to this. This is key. Brothers and sisters, this was recorded for us to know today. This is what the Yahudim said. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and our children. Let me ask you a question. These people, do they have children today? Pilate was wise enough not to have Yahusha's innocent blood on his hands. A group of people, however, are guilty as charged through verbal confession and will pay. Revelation 11:8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. So this is talking about this great city called Sodom and Egypt. Listen, where also our master was crucified. Side note, missiles and nukes in general may just be the cover story for Yahweh's wrath when it occurs. Isaiah 4:2 through 4. In that day shall the branch of Yahweh be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remains in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. Listen, but what that's the outcome. But what happens first? What's the precursor to this beautiful scene? When Yahweh shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem, which we saw earlier that they are guilty of, from the midst of thereof by what? The spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. Jerusalem will burn again, brothers and sisters. 1 Thessalonians 2:14 through 15. For you, brothers and sisters, became imitators of the churches of Elohim and Messiah Yahusha that are in Judea. For you also endured the same sufferings at the hand of your own countrymen, even as they did from the Yahudim. Listen to this. This is Paul speaking, not me. Who both killed the master Yahusha and the prophets and drove us out. Listen to this. They are not pleasing to Elohim, but hostile to all people. You know, it's interesting. People that even go over to that land today and deal with these people experience this as well. Yahudim views on Jesus. I'm not going to read all this. Do your own research. But here, I want to say this real quickly. I want to say this actually here. Yahudiism's rejection of Jesus as the Messiah is based on Yahudim eschatology, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Israelis who endorse the belief that Yahusha is the Messiah or Mashiach are not considered Yahudim by the chief of Israel nor by the Israeli government. John 8:44. This is Yahusha speaking to the Yahudim. You are of your father the devil. He said that. Revelation 19:1 through 2. After these things I heard a great voice of much people in heaven saying, Hallelujah! Salvation and glory and honor and power unto Yahweh our Elohim. For true and righteous are his judgments. For he has judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and has avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. So what is this fornication that she is guilty of? Jerusalem and the double cup of wrath. Fornication. After these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. We'll talk about that section in a moment. But now, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. We know Messiah told us that wine is doctrine, but we'll get back to that. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and Elohim has remembered her iniquities. Iniquities is sin, lawlessness. Reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled to her double. So we all know that Revelation is always quoting the prophets, the law and the prophets in the writings somewhere. So it should stand to reason that this nation who is going to get a double cup, it'd be prophesied about, it'd be expounded on. So where in the prophets is this located? Isaiah 41-2, Comfort ye, my people, says your Elohim, speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, right? And so that has to come first, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she has received of Yahweh's hand double for all her sins. It's right there, brothers and sisters, Jerusalem. Her iniquity sin was fornication against Yahweh, explained further in Ezekiel. Now this is Ezekiel 23. The word of Yahweh came to me again, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they prostituted themselves in Egypt. This is while they were in captivity and were following the ways of the Egyptians. We learned that through the golden calf, because as soon as Moses was gone 40 days, they went right back to worshiping the calf, just like the Egyptians historically did. Anyways, so they prostituted themselves in Egypt. They fornicated. They served other false gods there. They prostituted themselves in their youth. There their breasts were squeezed, and there their virgin breasts were handled. Their names were Aholah the elder and Aholibah her sister, and they became mine, and they gave birth to sons and daughters. As for the names, Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem is Aholibah. Now we're going to read more about Aholibah here in a second. I read that because we needed to identify who Aholibah is. But I want to go back to they prostituted themselves in Egypt. Let it be also known that it's very possible that they were actually serving, not just serving false gods, that they were actually serving Yahweh in the false ways that Egypt had taught them. Because remember, when the golden calf was there, after they made the golden calf, they proclaimed, tomorrow is a feast to Yahweh, right? And so they were trying to serve Yahweh in ways that they learned from Egypt. So that is the true identification of fornication, trying to serve Yah through pagan or devilish or just outright wrong ways. Denunciation of Aholibah. So we learned that Jerusalem was Aholibah, right? So now we're going to go a little bit deeper in Ezekiel 23:31-35. It says, You have walked in the way of your sister, therefore will I give her cup into your hand. So earlier it showed that they each had a cup. Now all of a sudden Samaria's cup is now also in Aholibah's cup. Or in hand, I'm sorry, that cup is also in her hand. So thus says Yahweh Elohim, You shall drink of your sister's cup deep and large. You shall be laughed to scorn and had in derision. It contains much. You shall be filled with drunkenness and sorrow, what we see all through Revelation about Mystery Babylon, drunkenness, sorrow, with the cup of astonishment and desolation, right? Mystery Babylon made desolate. The cup of your sister Samaria, with the cup of your sister Samaria. You will drink it and drain it. Then you will gnaw its fragments and tear your breasts, for I have spoken it, declares Yahweh Elohim. Therefore thus says Yahweh Elohim, because you have forgotten me and cast me behind your back, therefore bear also your lewdness and your whoredoms. Not only did Aholibah, Jerusalem, have her own cup of wrath, but she was given her sisters as well, giving her a double portion for her sins. Ezekiel 23:30, These things will be done to you because you have adulterously pursued the nations, because you have defiled yourself with their idols. Jerusalem, the mother who taught all her daughters to commit fornication, rebellion, idolatry, and false worship to Yahweh. These daughters certainly include Rome and the United States, which can represent mainstream Christianity as a whole. It's important to know that the mainstream church has diverted from the path that Yahusha pointed to many centuries ago. For more on this, see this playlist here. So, fornication and sorcery, her sin. So, because remember, Mystery Babylon's the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So, the wine of her, the doctrine of her fornication has gone all throughout the world. So let's take a scriptural and a spiritual approach to this. First, because a lot of documentaries really highlight how wicked the United States is and how it influences the world through music and movies, entertainment, and just the general Western lifestyle. But we have to recognize that America has a master, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. But the point is, these matters in Revelation have to be spiritually discerned, not physically discerned. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahweh, he has also rejected you from being king. So witchcraft is the same as sorcery. So rebellion is as the sin of sorcery, witchcraft. So by all your sorceries were the nations deceived. By all your rebellion, the nations were deceived. Because Israel was supposed to be a light to the nations, but instead it taught rebellion. Listen to this, Revelation 18:23, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in you, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in you. By the way, also this is pointing to the book of Proverbs 31, but we'll get into that later. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorceries were all nations deceived. All nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of fornications. Why? All nations truly have drunk of the doctrine of her disobedience. It doesn't matter if one is a Buddhist or a Taoist or atheist or any other religion for that matter. If you aren't obedient to the Creator's ways, his laws, the Torah, you are in rebellion to him, and you are following the path of the devil, the original rebel. The United States and the mainstream Christian world has certainly followed her mother's footsteps also. Professing love for Yahweh and his son, yet not actually following him nor doing his commandments, but embracing paganism and other worldly ways of worship towards Yahweh. Matthew 15:7-9, talking to the Pharisees, again, the Yahudim leaders, you hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, this people draws close to me with their mouth and honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Now he's going to explain what that looks like. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. If you do a thorough search through the law and the prophets, you'll find that the Most High, not me, says that we love him by keeping his commandments. And that's why their heart is far from him, because the commandments that they delight in are the commandments of men. The same thing is going on, and it's not just limited to these mega churches. Even in your average Protestant Christian church, they're not keeping the laws of the Most High. And that's why everyone's drunk of it. So think about it. If you're a Buddhist, you're not keeping the laws of the Most High. If you're a Taoist, you're not keeping the laws of the Most High. If you're an atheist, you're not keeping the laws of the Most High. And guess what? If you're in mainstream Christianity, most of you are not keeping the laws of the Most High. This is exactly what Jerusalem and the people of Israel were guilty of thousands of years ago. They were supposed to be the light of the nations, but they taught this rebellion. The Yahudim delighted in their man-made doctrines then, just as they do now. And I'll pause there again. From experience, I grew up in Yahudiism, and I'll tell you, let me ask you a question. The man-made doctrines that Yahusha hated thousands of years ago, let me ask you a question. Those of them that did not believe in Messiah and continued in Yahudiism, do you think that the man-made traditions got worse or better? Worse, of course. It's just been 2,000 more years without the Holy Spirit and without the guidance of the Most High through his Son. In fact, Christianity has forsaken the teachings of the holy apostles and Messiah himself in favor for doctrines of men. Once again, even so, Satan's, Buddhists, Taoists, atheists, agnostics, and every other religion has taken part in the wine, the doctrine of her fornication, rebellion towards Yahweh. Example, here Messiah teaches that keeping the commandments is part of inheriting eternal life. Matthew 19:17. And he said unto him, why do you call me good? There is none good but one, that is Elohim. But if you want to enter into life eternal, keep the commandments. It's simple, right? According to Messiah, if you want to enter into everlasting life, you must keep the commandments. Yet most Christians believe the law, the Torah, has been done away with, and the end result is iniquity, sin. Fitting, considering the originator of this doctrine is called the lawless one, Satan. Mystery Babylon, that great city. Throughout the book of Revelation, Mystery Babylon is named several times as that great city. Let's take a look to see what this part of the investigation turns up. Revelation 18:10, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is your judgment come. Key phrase, great city, Babylon. Revelation 14:8, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city. So here's two witnesses that Babylon is called that great city. Now here's 3 and 4 witnesses, or 3 witnesses. And the great city, which was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before Elohim. Now, I actually didn't even put this in the study, but question, those of you that know the scripture pretty well, what land is Yahweh upset about that they divide, that's parted in the end days? So, again, great city, great Babylon. Now, here we go, Revelation 11:8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our master was crucified. So even though it didn't say Babylon here, we have 4 witnesses that says that great city is talking about Babylon, where also our master was crucified. Where was Yahushua crucified? Put in the comments, put in the live stream, the live chat. Where was Yahushua crucified? Jerusalem. Has Jerusalem ever been called Sodom or Egypt in the scriptures? Isaiah 1:7-10, your country is desolate. And by the way, if you go to verse 1, you can see he's talking about Jerusalem. He says specifically to Jerusalem, your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire, your land strangers devour it in your presence, and it is desolate, key phrase, as overthrown by strangers, and the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in the vineyard, as a lodge in the garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except Yahweh Sebaot had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Hear the word of Yahweh, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the Torah of our Elohim, you people of Gomorrah. So Yahweh called the people of Jerusalem Sodom through the prophet Isaiah. So again, the topic, though, get back into this. The topic of this right now is Jerusalem was named as that great city in the book of Revelation. So it's worthy to note the only other mentions of that great city in the entire Bible is Gibeon of Benjamin, which of course is within the borders of Israel, Rezin, which is near Nineveh, and Nineveh. These are the only other mentions of that great city in the entire Bible. Let's talk about Jerusalem, the abomination made desolate. This is the abomination of desolation revisited. Luke 21:20-22 again. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh, or is close. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter into it. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So Messiah warns us that when we see Jerusalem surrounded by enemies, it will be made desolate. So key terms, Jerusalem, desolate. Now, here's the interesting part. What I love about having the multiple gospel accounts is you get sometimes the same information shared in a little different way. And so most people focus on Matthew 24:15-16 when talking about the abomination of desolation, which says, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso reads this, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. When you take a look at the prophecies found in Luke 21 and Matthew 24, it doesn't take long to realize they are speaking about the same event. And the reason I say that is because everything you're reading here, when you should see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then the very next thing, he instructs, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. So here, when you shall see the abomination desolation spoken by Daniel, blah, 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 then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. And both Matthew 24 and Luke 21 are the same Olivet discourse. It's the same speech, just written down from and remembered from different perspectives. So this is what I see when you combine them together. So if they are talking about the same thing, can we take elements from Luke 21 and can we take elements from Matthew 24 and put them together? I say yes. Some of you at home may be screaming, no, you can't do that. That's fine. This is not scripture. This is just how I understand what, if I take both of them together. When you therefore shall see Jerusalem, the abomination, the desolate one, stand or exist again in the holy place, whoso reads this, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains, because it is about to be made desolate one last time. For these are the days when everything the prophets foretold will happen. This is how I understand it when you put those two together. Again, I'm not saying that this is scripture. This is me combining the understanding of Luke 21 and Matthew 24. Let's back up a few steps though. Let's talk about the abomination of desolation. So really quickly, let's just remember that some key terms. In Matthew 24 and Luke 21, talk about the same thing. We see key terms. Jerusalem, which is the holy city. We see abomination. We see desolation. Right? Holy place. Now, with those key terms, and that basic understanding, we'll circle back around to Luke 21 and Matthew 24, but with that basic understanding of what I just shared right now, let's revisit the abomination of desolation. So we're going to read Daniel 9, 24 through 27. 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon your holy city. So this is all appertains to the people and to the holy city, which is Jerusalem. To finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity. If you search the scriptures, the only way to atone for shed blood is with blood. That's how Yah created the world. And to bring in an everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The streets shall be built again, and the wall even in troublesome times. I'm not going to get into it, but this is amazing how the prophecy literally happened exactly the way it said it was going to. The streets were built, and Messiah even came at the time he said that it was prophesied to come. He was prophesied to come. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, killed, murdered, but not for himself, right, because it's for the people. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. So this is, I believe, 70 AD. Desolations were determined because of the overspreading of abominations, which we'll read here in a second. And I don't believe this is talking about the Antichrist. This is Messiah. He shall confirm or strengthen the covenant. The whole scripture talks about one covenant, the covenant. This is not talking about the Antichrist covenant. This is talking about the covenant with his people. And he shall make firm or strong the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, 3.5 years, his ministry was 3.5 years, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease because of his sacrifice. And for the overspreading of abominations, which again would be a longer study of all the different things that Jerusalem has done to be considered an abomination. So for the overspreadings of abominations, he shall make it, the Holy Land, Jerusalem, desolate, even until the consummation. The consummation is talking about the consummation of times. So Jerusalem was supposed to be desolate until the end. And that determined, which is the final judgment, shall be poured upon the desolate. Why? Because she's already desolate. He shall make it desolate, even until the end, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So this is how I understand it here. Even until the consummation of time, and that determined, the double cup, shall be poured upon the desolate. Consider the context of this passage is all about Jerusalem, which shouldn't be shocking news to us, as this was foretold in the Torah. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand or be set up in Jerusalem. So some may not be aware, however, there are 2 abominations mentioned in Daniel. The one just covered, which was in Daniel 9, and yet another in Daniel 11. It's crucial to understand that these are 2 different events. So this is talking about the Antichrist, but we can't combine Daniel 9 and Daniel 11. It's 2 different events. At the time appointed he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former, as the latter. This is talking about Antiochus. For the ships of Chittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and shall return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that makes desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their Elohim shall be strong and do exploits. That was Daniel 11, 29 through 32. So this scenario already came to pass as prophesied during the time of the Maccabees and Antiochus Epiphanes. You can read the entire story in 1 Maccabees and 2 Maccabees. Again, these are links here. With this in mind, Daniel 9, verse 27, is yet to be fully fulfilled. Because, of course, part of it is because he confirmed the covenant, or the strength of the covenant multiplies for 1 week. And in the middle week, the sacrifice and the oblation ceases. And upon the end, the abominations destroy until the consummation is determined and poured over the desolation. So part of this is fulfilled and part of this is not fulfilled in Daniel 27. So with brackets, I did not mean to read this again. I was wondering why I had this again. Okay. So this is with brackets indicating the understanding I have about Daniel 9:27 at this time. And for the overspreading of abominations, fornication, shedding innocent blood, false worship, commandments of men, etc., he shall make it, Jerusalem, desolate, 70 AD, until the consummation of time, the end, and that determined, the double cup, right, the judgment, final destruction, purged by the spirit of burning, shall be poured upon the desolate, Jerusalem. Again, Matthew 24:15-16, when you therefore shall see the abomination, Jerusalem, of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand. And this is talking about being firm, being set up in the holy place. Whoso reads, let him understand, then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Again, Luke 21, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. Again, consider both passages lead into then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains, verifying they are speaking of the same situation. So I believe that this is what it's talking about. When you shall see Jerusalem, the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Okay, hopefully I made that point well enough. Let's talk about Mystery Babylon, the habitation of devils, dragons, and hateful birds. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Revelation 18:1-2. So we need to zone in on this. This is a very particular phrase: habitation of devils, hold of every foul spirit, cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So a short study on this peculiar terminology surfaces none other than Jerusalem. Let's talk. We're going to read Jeremiah 9:6-15. Your habitation, obviously he's talking to Jerusalem, is in the midst of deceit. Through deceit they refuse to know me, says Yahweh. Therefore thus says Yahweh of hosts, Behold, I will melt them and try them. For how shall I do to the daughter of my people? Their tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speaks deceit. One speaks peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in heart he lays wait. Shall I not visit them for these things, says Yahweh? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? For the mountains will I take up a weeping and a wailing, for the habitations of the wilderness a lamentation, because they are burned up, so that none can pass through them, neither can men hear the voice of cattle. Both the fowl of the heavens and the beast are fled, they are gone, and I will make Jerusalem heaps, a den of dragons. I will make the cities of Judah desolate without inhabitant. Who is the wise man that may understand this? Who is he to whom the mouth of Yahweh has spoken, that he may declare it? For what the land perishes and is burned up like a wilderness that none passes through? And Yahweh says, because they have forsaken my Torah, it's his law, which I set before them, and have not obeyed my voice, neither walked therein, but have walked after the imagination of their own heart, and after Balaam, which their fathers taught them. Therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, Behold, I will feed them, even this people, with wormwood, another Revelation term, and give them water of gall to drink. Again, this mother of harlots, who was married to Yahweh, has walked in rebellion and has taught the nations to do likewise. Are you currently in rebellion to him? Jeremiah 10:20-22, my tabernacle is spoiled, and all my cords are broken. My children are gone forth of me, and they are not. There is none to stretch forth my tent any more, and to set up my curtains. For the pastors are become brutish, and have not sought Yahweh. Therefore they shall not prosper, and all their flocks shall be scattered. Behold, the noise of the brute is come, and a great commotion out of the north country, to make the cities of Judah desolate, a den of dragons. Isaiah 34:3-5, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. This is all end time stuff, obviously. And all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falls from off the vine, as the falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. We're going to come back to the rest of Isaiah 34 in just a second, but who are the people of his curse? Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if you will not hearken to the voice of Yahweh Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Deuteronomy 28:20, Yahweh shall send upon you cursing, vexation, rebuke, and all that you set your hand to do, until you be destroyed, and until you perish quickly because of the wickedness of your doings, whereby you have forsaken me. Deuteronomy 28:45-46, moreover, all these curses shall come upon you, and shall pursue you, and overtake you, till you be destroyed, because you did not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and for a wonder, and upon your seed forever. So literally, these people who were guilty of eternal death were given the opportunity to be made free and righteous through the Son of the Most High, but because of their rejection, there is a large group of people who this curse is upon their seed forever and exists still to this day, so that needs to be still dealt with according to the Torah. Come out of her, my people. So back to Isaiah 34. This is all about the day of Yahweh, for it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof, of Zion, shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night or day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever and ever, from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. And brothers and sisters, this is what's getting ready to happen. This is speaking about Jerusalem in an end times context. This hasn't happened yet. But the cormorant and the bittern, these are links of what kind of birds these are, shall possess it. The owl and the raven shall dwell in it. These are unclean and hateful birds, birds of prey, predators, And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there. And all her princes shall be nothing, and thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. And it shall be a habitation of dragons and a court for owls. Brothers and sisters, this is exactly what Revelation is talking about, what the city is. The wild beast of the desert shall also meet with the wild beast of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. This screech owl, this is in here somewhere, is talking about Lilith, also shall rest there and find for herself a place of rest. Yeah, I think this is talking about Lilith right here. So it's talking about these unclean, foul spirits are resting here, and find for her place a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay and hatch, and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read. Not one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate, for my mouth has commanded it, and his spirit has gathered them. So I'm not prophesying the destruction of Jerusalem. I believe what the Most High has done is allowed me to properly discern the scriptures that are still yet to be fulfilled about Mystery Babylon, which will be destroyed again. So Jerusalem, certainly the habitation of dragons and hateful birds, as Revelation said, according to the law and prophets. Here's more. This is the Torah. This is the Song of Moses. We're going to talk about two songs of Moses today. This is the Song of Moses, number 1, the denunciation. This is the beginning. This is the end from the beginning. This is talking about everything I'm talking about today from the beginning in the Torah. And he says, hey, if you don't follow me, if you don't listen to me, Deuteronomy 18:18, if you don't listen to the one I send you, you will be cut off, and you're going to suffer these things. So this is Deuteronomy 32, starting at verse 15. But Jeshurun, this is a nickname, if you will, for the Israelites. But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. You are waxen fat, you are grown thick, you're covered with fatness. Then he forsook Elohim, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. Much like the fat and happy Americans today who have also forsook. They say Jesus, they go to church and whatnot, but they don't follow what he says. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to Elohim, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that newly came up. So they serve these devils, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that created you, Messiah, you are unmindful, and have forgotten Elohim that formed you. And when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them, because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not Elohim. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. Some of you people today. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation, us today. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. For their vine is the vine of Sodom, and the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are the grapes of gall, and their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poisons of dragons, and the cruel venom of asps. Remember, wine is doctrine of devils. Further along in the Song of Moses, for Yahweh shall judge his people and repent himself for his servants when he sees that their power is gone, and there is none shut up or left. And he shall say, where are their gods, their rock in whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them rise up and help you and be your protection. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. If I whet my glittering sword, and mine hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and will reward them that hate me. I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives from the beginning of revenges upon the enemy. Rejoice, O ye nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his land and to his people. A side note, I believe he's talking about New Jerusalem here and to his true people. The people in Galatians 4 where Paul rightly divides the difference between the one born of the flesh, Ishmael, versus the one born of promise, Isaac, likening to the Yahudim of old that were Israel by blood, and likening to those who are Israel by Messiah, by his blood, and by the Spirit. But he said it right here at the very beginning in the Song of Moses, what was going to happen. And we covered earlier in Ezekiel 22 why he gathered them together in the land in Jerusalem in the last days. There's a certain family that holds about 80% of the world's total wealth. They are so rich that this one family has the ability to literally feed, clothe, and settle every man, woman, and child on the planet if they wanted to. Revelation 2:9, I know your works in tribulation and poverty, but you are rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Yahudim and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And I think that this verse really works hand in hand with the reality. And it's not just this family. There's several other families that own almost the entire world's wealth. And so that's why he says, I know your works and your tribulation and your poverty, right? Because these people here, what they've done to the financial system, and it's a slavery system, the debt slavery system. And I know but he's like, but you're rich, right? Because spiritually, we're rich. Revelation 3:9, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Yahudim and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. So who's calling themselves Yahudim today? Ask yourself that. Mystery Babylon sits upon many waters. Many recognize the book of Revelation to be cryptic, realizing many passages are not meant literally, but must be discerned spiritually and by the scriptures interpreting themselves. So what I'm getting at here is Mystery Babylon is said to be sitting on many waters, and just from a very physical and very literal perspective, the United States fits very, very well. And I agree with that. However, let me share a different perspective. Revelation 17:1-2. And there came one of the seven angels which had seven vials and talked with me, saying, come hither, and I will show unto you the judgment of the great whore that sits upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. While the United States and many other countries sit upon many waters, the word lets us know how to truly interpret this. Revelation 17:5, this is a key. And he said to me, the waters which you saw, where the whore sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. So literally this goes out the window instantly because the scripture just lets you know what the waters represents. It's not talking about the sea, the ocean's physical water. It's spiritually meant peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. So some may not realize, but Jerusalem is the center of the nations, sits upon or in the midst of many waters. Ezekiel 5:5 says, "Thus says Yahweh Elohim, this is Jerusalem. I have set it in the midst or the middle of the nations and countries that are round about her." Psalm 132:13, "For Yahweh has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his habitation." A little off topic, but on topic. Yahweh selected Jerusalem as his holy habitation, a city in the midst of the nation's waters. If you were Elohim, if you were God that created everything, and you had a nation that was in the center of everything, wasn't that where you would probably set your throne or would want to be? If you were Satan, where would you set your throne? Wouldn't you want to copy the Most High? Ezekiel 28:1-2. We're going to learn more about this waters. "The word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, say to the prince of Tyrus, thus says Yahweh Elohim, because your heart is lifted up, and you have said, I am Elohim. I sit in the seat of Elohim in the midst of the seas. Yet you are a man and not Elohim, though you set your heart as the heart of Elohim." Later, we learn that this prince of Tyrus is just a pseudonym for Satan, who wants to be like the Most High and would certainly make his habitation in Jerusalem, as did Yahuwah. So this is just a little bit further in Ezekiel 28. We're going to read 12-18. "Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus says Yahweh Elohim, you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You have been in Eden, the garden of Elohim." Now we know this is not talking about a mere mortal man. "Every precious stone was your covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, the gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and your pipes was prepared in you in the day that you were created." So this is now a spiritual being that has musical instruments built into it. "You are the anointed cherub that covers." So now we're knowing this is literally the second highest class of angel, only second to a seraphim. "And I have set you so. You were upon the holy mountain of Elohim. You have walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day that you were created till iniquity was found in you. By the multitude of your merchandise." Another key word that we're going to read all about in the book of Revelation to understand. "By the multitude of your merchandise, they have filled the midst of you with violence." Merchandise can also be a key word for doctrine or beliefs or service to Elohim. "And you have sinned, therefore I will cast you as profane out of the mountain of Elohim, and I will destroy you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You have corrupted your wisdom by reason of your brightness. I will cast you to the ground. I will lay you before kings, that they may behold you. You have defiled your sanctuaries by the multitude of your iniquities, by the iniquity of your trade, your merchandise." "Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of you. It shall devour you, and I will bring you to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold you." Is the Most High Yahweh upset at Satan's financial trade, or is he pointing to something way more sinister? Perhaps this understanding of trade has to do with teaching men to walk in rebellion to Yahweh. "Happy is the man that finds wisdom and the man that gets understanding, for the merchandise of it," the doctrine of it, "is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things that you can desire are not to be compared unto her." It's Proverbs 3:13-15. So we're going to get a little deeper into this, but is there a group of people that owns most of the wealth that literally does everything on the backs of people, treating them as slaves and cattle, and just moving the pieces around like a monopoly board? Revelation 2:9, "I know your works in tribulation and poverty, but you are rich, and I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Yahudim and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan." So back to the midst of the seas, the people. So again, remember, Mystery Babylon is in the midst of many waters. Lamentations 1:17, "Zion spreads forth her hands, and there is none to comfort her. Yahweh has commanded concerning Jacob that his adversaries should be round about him," surrounded. "Jerusalem is as a menstruous woman among them." Another term from Mystery Babylon. Lamentations 2:15, "All that pass by clap their hands at you, hiss, and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?" Related, this is the day of Yahweh, will come with destruction. And this is Zephaniah, and it will blow your mind that stuff like this has been sitting here the whole time. He's literally explaining what the day of Yahweh looks like and what cities and nations will be destroyed. It'll blow your mind of how clear this is. Now, before we get into that, listen to this. This is really interesting because it says, gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Now, you can read right past that and just totally miss the point. So he's literally saying, go ahead, gather yourselves together by your own strength, by these people that run the world. And we'll talk about that here in a second. So gather yourselves together. Yes, gather together, O nation not desired. He doesn't want them. Why? Because they've rejected his son. Now, if they would simply lift that veil and embrace his son, they're in. Romans 9, grafted right back in. Come on in. But until that time, they are in rebellion and utter rejection of the Most High through his son. So is this not what's been happening since 1948? Gather yourselves together. Yeah, gather together, O nation not desired. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of Yahweh come upon you, before the day of Yahweh's anger come upon you, seek ye Yahweh, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be that ye shall be hid in the day of Yahweh's anger. Listen, look at the cities that are destroyed. For Gaza shall be forsaken, Ashkelon, this is Israel, a desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. This is all the western side, the western coasts of Israel. Woe to the inhabitants of the seacoast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of Yahweh is against you, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. I will even destroy you, that there shall be no inhabitant. So Canaan is literally where this political state of Israel is right now. That there shall be no inhabitant. Therefore, as I live, says Yahweh Sabaoth, the Elohim of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah, even the breeding of nettles and salt pits, and a perpetual desolation. Perpetual, it means doesn't end. This hasn't happened yet, brothers and sisters. The residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. That was Zephaniah 2, 1 through 5, and verse 9. A little bit further on, we're going to continue at verse 12 through 15. You Ethiopians also shall be slain by my sword, and he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation. Are you seeing what this map is portraying here? This is the Middle East. This is the Levant. And he's saying this whole area is going to get annihilated. And a dry like a wilderness, and flocks shall lie down in the midst of her. All the beasts of the nations, both the cormorant and the bittern, shall lodge in the upper lintels of it. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar work. This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, that said in her heart, I am, and there is none beside me. How is she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down in? Everyone that passes by her shall hiss and wag his hands. What we literally just read in Lamentations. So talking about this land that's in the middle of the oceans, because people will also be like, well, the mariners will have to see the destruction by the sea. Revelation 18:17 through 19. For in 1 hour so great riches has come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Let me ask you a question. What is the most revered city for every Christian right now? What would every Christian say if it was destroyed tomorrow? What's weeping and wailing, saying, oh, what city is like this great city? They cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, they're a great city. I mean, are they going to do that for New York? I mean, maybe. I don't want to be too sassy here, but I mean, seriously, what is the most important city for Christians today in the world? Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. So this could be like one of those moments where people are like, haha, see, has to be a waterway. It has to be a waterway next to it, which, of course, Israel does, but that's not the point. The book of Revelation is said to be a story about two polar opposite women. The faithful bride, who made herself ready, who, of course, we all want to be, and the sinful harlot. The story of man can be categorized into the same, as there are no gray areas with Yahweh. It's life or death, sweet or bitter, good or bad, wheat or tare, sheep or goat. With this in mind, it's interesting that Proverbs 31, well known for the details surrounding a righteous woman, mentions these ships and trade. No coincidence, brothers and sisters. Proverbs 31, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. It's interesting that also wisdom in Proverbs chapter 3, also its value is its merchandise is far above rubies. So I believe the book of Revelation has to be spiritually discerned, brothers and sisters. So who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that she'll have no need of spoil. She is like the merchant's ships. She brings her food from afar. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle goes not out by night. Now, just to show you that this is not mere coincidence, let's take this one here. Let's contrast the candle mentioned with Revelation's harlot. So the good woman, her candle goes not out by night. Revelation 18:23, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in you. And the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride shall be heard no more at all in you. Perhaps Revelation is more cryptic than most imagine, but really not that cryptic because he gives us the open book test. All we got to do is keep opening the book to different pages. So hopefully this has answered the questions that a lot of people have about, we didn't go all the way up, but about Mystery Babylon being surrounded by the seas. Let's talk about the subtopic, I sit a queen and am no widow. This is another key phrase about Mystery Babylon, and it's all throughout the prophets. So in Revelation 18, 7 through 10, how much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, luxuriously. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she says in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahweh Elohim who judges her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is your judgment come. I would have a feeling if the United States was utterly destroyed in 1 hour, that the nations would actually rejoice that the petrodollar is gone and all these other things. Isaiah 47, this is the denunciation of Jerusalem. And we're going to, again, the key here is this, I sit a queen and am no widow and see no sorrow. Remember this. Remember, this is what this is what Mystery Babylon says in her heart, right? This is how she thinks, this is how she operates. Isaiah 47, the denunciation of Jerusalem. There's no edits here, brothers and sisters. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. This is a very beggarly job back in the day, or low-class job, not beggarly, low-class job. So it's like, I'm going to take you from royalty down to poverty. Uncover your locks, make bare the leg. Uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Your nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, your shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance. I will not meet you as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit silent and get you into the darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called Lady of the Kingdoms. Right? I sit a queen. So a little bit further on, this is now we're going to go through 47, a little bit later on in 47. Therefore, hear now this, you that are given to pleasures, remember from Revelation, living deliciously, that dwell carelessly, that says in her heart, I am, and there is none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of my children. Now we're getting somewhere. Now this is exactly what Revelation is quoting right here, or drawing from, if you will. Now we know we're directly over the target. But these two things shall come upon you in a moment, in one day, right? In 1 hour, in 1 day is she made to nothing, right? The loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon you in their perfection for the multitude of your sorceries. This is definitely Revelation talk. And for the great abundance of your enchantments, for you have trusted in your wickedness and have said, no one sees me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it has perverted you. And you have said in your heart, I am, and there is none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon you, and you shall not know from where it rises. Mischief shall fall upon you, and shall not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon you suddenly. This is Mystery Babylon talk, which you shall not know. Stand now with your enchantments, and with a multitude of your sorceries, right? And remember, this is talking about rebellion, wherein you have labored from your youth. If so be, you shall be able to profit. If so be, you may be able to prevail. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up, and save you from these things that shall come upon you. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, no fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto you with whom you have labored, even your merchants. There it is. From your youth they shall wander every one to his quarter. None shall save you. Look who he's speaking to. Hear this, O house of Jacob, which are called by the name of Israel, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah, which swear by the name of Yahweh, and make mention of the Elohim of Israel, but not in truth, nor in righteousness. What's truth? Your righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and your law, your Torah, is truth. Psalm 119, 142. What is righteousness? Deuteronomy 6:25, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh our Elohim as he has commanded us. And I'll tell you, the inhabitants of the land over there, brothers and sisters, do not delight in the commandments of Elohim, but in the commandments of men. For they call themselves of the holy city and stay themselves upon the Elohim of Israel. Yahweh Sabaoth is his name. I have declared the former things from you from the beginning, and they went out from my mouth, and I showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass, because I knew that you are obstinate, and your neck is as an iron sinew. Remember again, 1 Samuel 15:23 talks about how this is as iniquity. And your brow brass. I have even from the beginning declared it unto you before it came to pass. I showed it you, lest you should say, my idol has done them, and my graven image and my molten image has commanded them. You have heard, see all this, and will you not declare it? I have showed you new things from this time, even hidden things, and you did not know them. They are created now, and not from the beginning, even before the day when you heard them not, lest you should say, behold, I knew them. Yea, you heard not. Yea, you knew not. Yea, from that time your ear was not opened. For I knew that you would deal very treacherously, and was called a transgressor from the womb. Isaiah 47:8 through 48:8. Jeremiah 8:3 through 5. Listen to this. And death shall be chosen rather than life by all the residue. So the remnant, the seed, the remaining seed of them that remain of this evil family. I didn't say it. The Most High did through Jeremiah, which remain in all the places where I have driven them, says Yahweh Sabaoth of hosts. Moreover, you shall say unto them, thus says Yahweh, shall they fall and not arise? Shall he turn away and not return? Why then is this people of Jerusalem slidden back by a perpetual backsliding? They hold fast to deceit. They refuse to return, even to this day. Let's talk about Babylon reigns over the kings of the earth. On the surface, it would appear as though the United States rules over the kings of the earth. However, this is not the case. The corporation of the U.S. is in fact subservient to the man-made religious powers that be. First, it is subject to those who own the world financially. Do your own research and see what group of people owns nearly every central bank, every sector of the news and entertainment, television, movies, music. This is what influences people. Make no mistake about it, these are the people who run the world behind closed doors. This is Jacob Rothschild. His family is worth $500 trillion. They own nearly every central bank in the world. They finance both sides of every war since Napoleon. They own our news, the media, our oil, and our government. Beware. And he is part of a group that I'm discussing today. And this group also owns Facebook, Google, Disney, CNN, Fox, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Reuters, Associated Press, Bloomberg, CNBC, ABC, Time, Forbes, USA Today, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Sony, Paramount, Comcast, Warner Brothers, HBO, Marvel, and much more. Some of the most influential actors and musicians who shape society are also part of this group. I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply. Nathan Rothschild. This is a depiction, brothers and sisters, of actually how things are run. I'll let you just take a look at that for just a minute. This is a letter from Balfour. What was his full name? Lord Balfour. I don't know. Anyways, you can read it for yourself. This is basically showing how England was subservient to the Rothschilds, who I believe run the world, them and some of the other families. Don't worry, they'll get theirs, so you don't have to be all mad and upset and angry at them. The Most High has got plenty reserved for them. But the point being is, do your own research about how the political state of Israel came to be. The modern political state of Israel is the offspring of the Rothschild dynasty, not Yahweh, and will burn them and the land. For much more on this topic, see this extremely controversial and hard to digest 12-hour documentary. It wouldn't even stay on YouTube. It's on BitChute. That's if you want to discuss. That's if you want to understand this topic a lot more. Okay. We need to talk about the beast of Revelation. Remember, Mystery Babylon rides the beast of Revelation. That means there is a force more powerful than she is. She wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this beast. So let's remind ourselves of the scripture, Revelation 17:3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and horns. Let me ask you a question. Well, I'm going to ask this again later. But when you look at a beast with someone riding on it, what does that remind you? It reminds me of like a horse, right? Who is master, the horse or the one that rides it? Think about that for a second. So the beast. This topic deserves its own study, which we have several on it. However, we do need to touch on the identity of the beast in relation to Mystery Babylon, whom she rides. This beast is said to have 7 heads and 10 horns. This points to the book of Daniel for interpretation. Daniel 7:23-25. Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of his kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time, times, and the dividing of times. So one thing that we need to understand here is in Revelation, the beast has 7 heads, as the 3 prophesied to be subdued were destroyed. Just to recap, there are 10 heads, 10 kings, and it says he shall subdue or destroy 3 kings. So in Revelation, this beast has 7 heads, as the 3 prophesied to be subdued were destroyed. The precise information regarding the 42 months or 1,260 days of power can point to none other than Rome and the papacy. And real quickly, this is not in the study here, but just a little side note. In Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream about this statue that has 4 phases, or actually 5 phases. You have 4 kingdoms, and that 4th kingdom is broken up into two different phases of the kingdom. We know that the first phase, the gold, was Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon. The second one, the chest and the arms, was of the silver. That was the Medo-Persian Empire. Then the third, the torso and the waist of bronze, the Greek kingdom. And then the 4th we know is the legs and the feet of iron, and then the feet and toes were iron mixed with miry clay. So it was like a second phase of the kingdom towards the end. And so I believe that's pagan Rome, the emperors, Caesars, whatnot, transitioning into the papal phase. So we have pagan Rome as the first phase, papal Rome as the second phase of the beast. And it's interesting that the papacy ruled from 538 AD to 1798 AD when Napoleon ended the rule of the papacy. So literally 1,260 days or years of the papal supremacy. This is known as the Dark Ages, literally when the whole world was subdued in darkness. Not that we're too far from it now, but really there was no information, there was no hardly any escaping this. So the papacy ruled from 538 AD to 1798 AD. 1,260 years, just as it was prophesied. Also, it's worthy to note the papacy effectively destroyed the 3 rivaling kingdoms, or heads, that opened up the way to its supremacy. In 493 AD, the Heruli were destroyed. The Vandals in 538 AD and the Ostrogoths in 538 AD. These are the 3 heads, leaving no opposition to their throne. Lastly, it's necessary to mention that the papacy changed the times and laws just as the prophecy in Daniel 7:25 states. The world operates on the Gregorian calendar created by Pope Gregory XIII, the Roman papacy, which replaced the Julian calendar, also Roman, but that was from one of the emperors. So literally the whole world runs on this time. They also changed the laws of Yahweh in many ways, learning from their mother, Jerusalem. Look it up for yourself. The Roman Catholic Church literally took the 2nd commandment, the commandment of idolatry, not bowing down to statues and stuff. They took it out, literally deleted it, and they took the 10th commandment and divided it into 2 commandments so that they still had 10 commandments. It's crazy. But that's just the beginning of it. They changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, and still, mainstream Christianity still follows her pernicious ways today, changing the laws of the Most High. And it's interesting, again, people that think that the papacy is the mother of all harlots. Well, who did the papacy even learn this from? They learned this from Jerusalem, the original harlot. So while the papal's total dominance over the world had been wounded in 1798, we know that that wound eventually gets healed. Revelation 13:3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. You can do more of your own research, but look up the Lateran Pacts of the Lateran Treaty of 1929, and you'll basically see that they basically healed the wound. They gave them their sovereignty back, and since then, you can see since the late 20s, the papacy has come back to massive power and massive influence again. Rome is the fourth beast of the book of Daniel and the first mentioned in Revelation. Revelation 13:1-2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, the third beast of Daniel, and his feet were like the feet of a bear, the second beast of Daniel, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, the first beast of Daniel. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Literally, the devil gave the papacy their power. Pagan Rome, which eventually became Papal Rome, is the fourth beast of Daniel, and the first in Revelation as a conglomerate of all the beasts, because the papacy subdued all the other nations around it, with, again, the subduing of the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths. Pagan Rome, However, the second beast of Revelation, which is not the same as Daniel's 4 beasts, is truly the key to unlocking everything here about who runs the world. Revelation 13:11-12, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. A few things to note. This second beast of Revelation 13 came up out of the earth as opposed to the sea. So remember, the papacy, this beast, rose up out of the sea. And that's exactly what happened with the papacy. They rose up out of the midst of multitudes of peoples, nations, and tongues. Just like the whore sits upon many waters, nations, peoples, and tongues. We know from earlier in our studies that the waters represented peoples, multitudes, and tongues, a populous area. It would stand to reason that out of the earth, total opposite of the former, might represent a nation that began with a less inhabited land, yet would rise to power and dominate the earth, exercises all the power of the former beast, literally rules the earth, just like the papacy did. Also, this nation appeared as a lamb, innocent, righteous, yet spake as a dragon in actions, wickedness, fierceness, wrathful, lawless. Though America has the appearance of a nation with Christian or biblical values, this is only but a veneer. This nation does not serve the Elohim of Israel, but the God of forces, the God of money, Mammon. Unfortunately, most branches of modern-day Christianity have followed the errors of the Roman Catholic Church, departing from the Torah of Yahweh, which followed the error of the ancient Israelites, the mother of all who stray away from Yahweh. I am persuaded that this second beast of Revelation is the United States, the country mystery Babylon rides upon and wouldn't exist without. True or false? I say true. And he, the second beast of Revelation, does great wonders so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceives them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. I just want to mention, this is kind of interesting that the mark of the beast is in the right hand or in their foreheads. Do your own study, but take a look at Deuteronomy 4, and you'll find that those who keep the commandments are actually also marked on their hand and their forehead, but marked by Yah instead of marked by the beast. Brothers and sisters, the days ahead are going to be even more deceptive than it has already been. The United States, the second beast, Rome 2.0, will revive all the powers the papacy once held and will have the entire world under its subjection. Aren't we already there? It will appear as a Christian revival, yet it will be a grand deception. Considering the majority of believers in Messiah are aloof to the Torah, the law of Yahweh, I'd say the stage is set for the grand finale. The stage is set in America, a returning Jesuit Roman Catholic trained president, a once Protestant, now Catholic converted vice president. 6 out of 9 Supreme Court justices are Catholic. 2 of the remaining 3 were raised Catholic, one of them Jesuit, and the last remaining of the 9 is a Yahudim. Don't tell me that they won't be able to revive all the powers of the first feast, the Roman papacy. Is there any other country who could fulfill the prophecy of reviving the Roman Empire? Is there? At this time, other than the United States? I would say no. Can the second beast of Revelation 13 be anyone other than the United States? Perhaps, but certainly not in this generation. If America is the second beast of Revelation, how can it also be Mystery Babylon? It cannot. For much more regarding the beast, the Antichrist, Mystery Babylon, the mark of the beast, and where the United States fits into this, please see this playlist series. It's a clickable link. So off topic, yet a little on topic, because remember, this whole section here was about she who reigns over the kings of the earth. Ezra 4:20, there have been mighty kings also over Jerusalem, which have ruled over all the countries beyond the river, and toll and tribute and custom was paid unto them. And the woman which you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. Revelation 17:18. As the rider is master over the beast, so is Jerusalem master over the United States for now. Israel is the largest cumulative recipient of U.S. aid. I mean, look at this. It's more than double of even the next closest one. Israel would not exist without the United States. Nevertheless, remember her eventual fate. And the 10 horns which you saw upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Elohim has put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Elohim shall be fulfilled. So this is talking about that first beast. So the destruction is going to come, I believe, from the localized area. The destruction is either going to come from Yah himself, like Sodom and Gomorrah, or it's going to be massive weapons, whether it be nuclear or just massive bombs. I don't know. But basically, the United States is just not going to be able to prevent it. That's what's going to happen. They're not going to be able to prevent it. It will be the destruction of Mystery Babylon that will catapult the entire world domination, one world economic and religious systems, the one world order, the fallout of the entire region, Yahudim, Arabs, etc. Being destroyed will be the vehicle to radical changes. Remember, he said the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. And I agree with his statement there. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but I agree with that one. And real quickly on him, why are so many of Yah's people so enthusiastic and enthralled with a man who displays literally all the opposite characteristics of that our Messiah displayed? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, long-suffering, self-control. The harlots merchandise. Revelation 17:4, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. If we isolate this verse, it can be completely understandable why some believe that Rome is Mystery Babylon. However, if we continue the search, we find that she's also decked with many other standout items: gold, silver, precious stones, odors, wine, frankincense, and other unique merchandise. A thorough examination of the books of Kings and Chronicles, specifically pertaining to the construction of the temple, reveals something interesting. So on this side here is a list of the harlots merchandise. This is everything listed. Ignore this down here. I'm sorry. This reference right here is actually it's a screenshot. But all these items is everything that's mentioned in the book of Revelation. What's interesting is if you look through the book of First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, and I'm saying First Chronicles and First Kings. This is interesting. Is the items of the temple almost nearly match everything except for pearls is not mentioned and silk is not mentioned. And that's literally the only two things that aren't mentioned. So I ask, is that like coincidence? Mystery Babylon's merchandise happens to match the items reported to be a part of the temple. Once again, like all the other topics, points back to Jerusalem. Every single topic that we discussed points back to Jerusalem. Here's a short video, 4 minutes, highlighting these similarities. Basically, it's just me reading through the harlots merchandise, and then it's showing each one as it goes, as we read it, and then we read the temple merchandise, and then it shows up as we read it. And so just showing you line by line how that works out. Let's talk about the city of 7 hills. And here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Revelation 17:9. So while Rome does in fact sit on 7 hills or mountains, not many are aware that Jerusalem does also. Even so, the significance of the 7 hills goes much deeper than this surface level understanding. Here's a study we conducted on the subject if you're interested. It's a very in-depth subject. That's why I decided not to include that here. But I just figured I wanted to at least include the physical aspect that a lot of people pinpoint Rome because it's founded on 7 hills. Well, again, so is Jerusalem. All right, let's talk about a really interesting prophecy about the inhabitants of the land at his return. And we're almost at the end of the study here. So let's talk about what the prophecy states about the people who live in the land of Jerusalem at his return. Side note, whether the judgment of the land is done through human means, rockets, missiles, bombs, or through heavenly instruments like Sodom and Gomorrah remains to be seen. Nevertheless, remember, mainstream media will have an anti-biblical narrative no matter how it goes down. This is the age of deception. We need to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, according to the Master. So gird up your loins. As we approach the end of the study, there's 2 prophecies that needed to be mentioned. However, it didn't quite fit into the other subcategories. They both deal with the inhabitants of the land of Jerusalem at his return. And I can, cutting to the chase here, the outlook is not good for them. Isaiah 33. At the sound of a roar, peoples flee. At the lifting up of yourself, the nations disperse. Your plunder is gathered as the caterpillar gathers. Like an infestation of locusts, people storm it. Yahweh is exalted, for he dwells on high. He has filled Zion with justice and righteousness. And he will be the stability of your times, a wealth of salvation, wisdom, and knowledge. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Behold, their brave men cry out in the streets. The ambassadors of peace weep bitterly, just like Paul says, when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come. The highways are desolate. The traveler has ceased. He has broken the covenant. I believe he's talking about back in the days of Noah, how the covenant of the sun, the moon, the earth, the seasons. He's broken the covenant. He's despised the cities. He has no regard for mankind. The land mourns and wastes away. Now we're going to take a quick detour, and we're going to go back to chapter 32, because it lets us know what land he's talking about, this land that mourns and wastes away. So going back to Isaiah 32, 13 through 17, upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, and upon all the houses of joy in the joyous city. Because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and the towers shall be for dens forever, a joy of wild asses, a pasture of flocks, until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness quietness and assurance forever. So the point is, the destruction has to become first before there can be peace. It's just like if a child is wrong, there has to be a punishment first before things can be moved on. There has to be a reconciliation for a wrong that's been done. So getting back here, so now we know the land. Now it's even more clarified about the greater area around. And that's why it's not going to be just Israel that's going to be destroyed. It's going to be these Arab and Muslim nations all around. Lebanon is ashamed and withers. Sharon is like a desert plain. And Bashan and Carmel lose their foliage. Now I will arise, says Yahweh. Now I will be exalted. Now I will be lifted up. You have conceived chaff. You will give birth to stubble. My breath will consume you like a fire. The peoples will be burned to lime, like cut thorns which are burned in the fire. This is literally what's going to happen in that land. You who are far away, hear what I have done. And you who are near, acknowledge my might. Listen to this. Sinners in Zion are terrified. Trembling has seized the hypocrites. We read earlier, remember? The hypocrites are, Messiah declared who they are in Matthew 15. It's the Sadducees. It's the Pharisees. It's the children of those who still have the blood of Messiah on their hands today. Trembling has seized the hypocrites. Who among us can live with the consuming fire? Who among us can live with everlasting burning? One who walks righteously and speaks with integrity. One who rejects unjust gain and shakes his hands so that they hold no bribe. One who stops his ears from hearing about bloodshed and shuts his eyes from looking at evil. He will dwell on the heights. His refuge will be the impregnable rock. His bread will be given him. His water will be sure. Your eyes will see the king in his beauty. They will see a distant land. Your heart will meditate on terror. Where is the scribe? Where is the one who weighs? Where is the one who counts the towers? You will no longer see a fierce people, a people of unintelligible speech which no one comprehends, of a stammering tongue which no one understands. Look at Zion, the city of our appointed feasts. Your eyes will see Jerusalem. I believe this is talking about New Jerusalem now. An undisturbed settlement, a tent which will not be folded. Its stakes will never be pulled up, nor any of its ropes be torn apart. But there the majestic one, Yahweh, will be for us a place of rivers and wide canals on which no boat with oars will go, and which no mighty ship will pass. Isaiah 33, 3-21. When Isaiah 32 and 33 are understood in an end times context, we are able to see that judgment must be carried out on the land prior to the arrival of the kingdom that will never end. Remember that the land is defiled with blood and must be atoned for. Numbers 33, 34-35, so shall you not pollute the land wherein you are, for the blood it defiles the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Defile not therefore the land which ye shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I, Yahweh, dwell among the children of Israel. Before Yahweh dwells here on earth, the land must be cleansed or atoned for first. This is why I believe the destruction will happen 1 year on the Day of Atonement, also revealed within Leviticus 16 and the cleansing instructions for Yom Kippur. Leviticus 18:22, very, very interesting regarding the state of Israel. You shall not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Remember? Because of the overspreading of abominations. Did you know that this nation is literally one of the top destinations for the alphabet LG? Leviticus 18:23-26, defile not yourselves in any of these things, for in all these things the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomits out her inhabitants. Other passages says the land swallows her inhabitants. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourns among you. This leads us to the Song of Moses. Well, the Song of Moses is certainly a tune of history. It also has some prophecy yet to be fulfilled. This is Exodus 15. The enemy said, I will pursue. This is Pharaoh, right? I will overtake. I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword. My hand shall destroy them. You did blow with your wind. The sea covered them. They sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto you, O Yahweh, among the Elohim? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? You stretched out your right hand. The earth swallowed them. So now this is talking about a different situation, because earlier the water swallowed them, now the earth swallowed them, which we read about in Revelation 19 and 20. You in your mercy has led forth a people which you have redeemed. You have guided them in your strength unto your holy habitation. The people shall hear and be afraid. So this is what, when he comes, when he gathers his people, the people of the earth shall hear and be sorrowful. Listen to this. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestine. Why? Well, because of everything we've been discussing today. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab trembling shall take hold upon them. Listen to this. All, not some, all the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Let's finish the prophecy, because this was what has to happen first. Destruction, then what? Right? Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of your arm, Messiah, they shall be as still as a stone, till your people pass over, O Yahweh, till the people pass over which you have purchased. You shall bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, and the place, O Yahweh, which you have made for yourself to dwell in the sanctuary, O Yahweh, which your hands have established. Yahweh shall reign forever and ever. Conclusion. Let's not forget. Number 1, Messiah told us Jerusalem being destroyed would be an end times marker to signify his coming. Number 2, Jerusalem is provably guilty through the scriptures of being guilty of all the righteous bloodshed upon the earth. Number 3, Jerusalem is the only city to have been prophesied to receive the double cup of wrath. Number 4, Mystery Babylon is clearly revealed as Jerusalem through the multiple passages in Revelation that speak concerning that great city. Most notably, Revelation 11:8, which describes that great city as the place where our Master was crucified, Jerusalem. Number 5, a proper analysis of Daniel 9 and the abomination of desolation reveals that Jerusalem, the abomination, will be made desolate one last time at the end. This understanding coincides with what Yahusha taught in Luke 21, when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies. Number 6, Mystery Babylon, the habitation of dragons, owls, and other hateful birds, is clearly portrayed as Jerusalem through the Torah and the prophets. Number 7, Mystery Babylon, sitting on many waters, must be discerned through Scripture and not geography. Remember, the waters we saw symbolize multitudes of people. Number 8, Mystery Babylon declares she is a queen, not a widow, and will see no sorrow. Isaiah was given prophecies many years ago that reveals her identity as Jerusalem. Number 9, Mystery Babylon does in fact rule over the world. She controls the world through the banking industry, world governments, music, movies, and other forms of media. Number 10, the harlots merchandise isn't limited to the colors the Roman Catholic Church wear, but once again point to a very specific list of items that match the temple in Jerusalem. Number 11, Rome and Jerusalem both sit on 7 hills. Number 12, Isaiah 33 and Exodus 15, Song of Moses, prophesy destruction to Jerusalem at the return of Yahusha, or at least the territory of Canaan. One last matter. Remember Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. The destruction coming begins with Jerusalem. However, the devastating effects will be worldwide. Will you be partakers of her sins, or will you be on the right side of things when the biggest line in the sand is drawn ever? This is a long read. This is Jeremiah 25:15-32, but incredibly important. For this is what Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, says to me. Take this cup of the wine of wrath from my hand and give it to all the nations to whom I send you to drink from it. So it's important to remember that not only Jerusalem is going to be destroyed, and I'm making this video because I think it'll be first and subsequently the nations, maybe not all at the same time, I don't know. But what's important to understand is since those who are still attached to Jerusalem, right? Remember he says, come out of her, my people, lest you'd be partakers of her sins. People who continue in this rebellion against the Most High will also suffer punishment. So really, the important part of this whole study is, what are you doing? Are you following the Most High, or are you following false religion? We'll get back to that in a second, but let's get back on topic. So Jeremiah has this cup, right? He's like, whoever I tell you to give it to him. Then they will drink and loudly vomit and act insanely because of the sword that I am going to send among them. So I took the cup from Yahweh's hand and gave it to all the nations whom Yahweh sent me to drink from it. Now listen to this. Look where the judgment begins. Look where the destruction begins. To Jerusalem and the cities of Judah and its kings and its officials, to make them places of ruin, objects of horror, hissing, and a curse, as it is this day already. To Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to his servants, officials, and all his people, to all the foreign people, all the kings of the land of Uz, all the land of the Philistines, that is Ashkelon, Gaza, Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod, to Edom, Moab, the sons of Ammon, to all the kings of Tyre, the kings of Sidon, the kings of the coastland which are beyond the sea, to Dedan, Tema, Buz, and all who trim the corners of their hair, and to all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the foreign people who live in the desert, and all the kings of Zimri, the kings of Elam, all the kings of Media, to all the kings of the north, near and far, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the earth which are on the face of the ground, and the king of Shishak, Babylon, shall drink after them. And you shall say to them, this is what Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, says. Drink, be drunk, vomit, fall down, and do not get up, because of the sword which I am sending among you. And if they refuse to take the cup from your hand to drink, then you shall say to them, this is what Yahweh of hosts says. You shall certainly drink. For behold, I am beginning to inflict disaster on this city which is called by my name, right? So that's where it starts. That's what Messiah says. This is what Yah says. So should you be completely free from punishment? You will not be free from punishment. For I am summoning a sword against all the inhabitants of the earth, declares Yahweh of hosts. Therefore you shall prophesy against them all these words, and you shall say to them, Yahweh will roar from on high and raise his voice from his holy dwelling. He will roar forcibly against his fold. He will shout like those who tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. Clamor has come to the end of the earth because Yahweh has a controversy with the nations. He is entering into judgment with humanity. As for the wicked, he has turned them over to the sword, declares Yahweh. This is what Yahweh of hosts says. Behold, evil is going out from nation to nation, and a great storm is being stirred up from the remotest parts of the earth. Those put to death by Yahweh on that day will be from one end of the earth to the other. They will not be mourned, gathered, or buried. They will be like dung on the face of the ground. So what side of the line drawn in the sand will you be on? This is the last longer passage, and then I think we're finished. This is Jeremiah 4. For this is what Yahweh says to the men of Judah and to Jerusalem. Break up your uncultivated ground, and do not sow among thorns. Circumcise yourselves to Yahweh, and remove the foreskins of your heart, men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, or else my wrath will spread like fire and burn with no one to quench it. Because of the evil of your deeds, declare in Judah and proclaim in Jerusalem and say, blow the trumpet in the land, cry loud and say, assemble, let's go into the fortified cities. Raise a flag towards Zion, take refuge, and do not stand still. For I am bringing evil from the north, and a great destruction. A lion has gone out from his thicket, and a destroyer of nations has set out. He has gone out from his place to make your land waste. Your cities will be ruins without an inhabitant. For this, put on sackcloth, mourn and wail, for the fierce anger of Yahweh has not turned away from us. And it shall come about on that day, declares Yahweh, that the heart of the king and the hearts of the leaders will fail, and the priests will tremble, and the prophets will be astonished. Then I said, O Yahweh Elohim, surely you have utterly deceived this people in Jerusalem, saying, you will have peace, yet a sword touches the throat. And this is what I kind of began the study with, is the prophets of Christianity are saying that Jerusalem is going to be protected, just like the false prophets did, challenging Jeremiah back in the day. And I believe, according to what the prophets have written, that's not the case. That's why the prophets will be astonished. At that time, it will be said to this people and to Jerusalem, a scorching wind from the bare heights in the wilderness, in the direction of the daughter of my people, not to winnow and not to cleanse. A wind too strong for this will come at my command. Now I will also pronounce judgments against them. Behold, and by the way, I just want to also make mention, just like we pointed out in Ezekiel earlier, that the fire he was talking about was not a fire to purify the metal, right? In a similar way, a scorching wind from the bare heights in the wilderness in the direction of the daughter of my people, not to winnow and not to cleanse. So these are not, winnow is for good. It's for winnowing the fruit, the cereal from the grain, the cereal from the chaff, and not to cleanse. That's a good thing, right? A wind too strong for this will come at my command, and now I will also pronounce judgments against them. This is a destroying wind. This is not a good wind. This is a destroying wind. Behold, he goes up like clouds, and his chariots like the whirlwind, and his horses are swifter than eagles. You know what? I just want to real quickly, we're talking about, that he's the one that, I just want to say, Yah is the one who controls the weather. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling here. And it's just so interesting. Even though I don't believe the United States is Mystery Babylon, I do believe that destruction is coming to the United States. And all the prophets, even Yah's prophets within the Torah community, are prophesying that America will suffer judgment. And the moment that America does suffer some hurt by a storm, everyone's giving Satan and man credit. Just wondering. Woe to us, for we are ruined. Wash your heart from evil, Jerusalem, so that you may be saved. How long will your wicked thoughts lodge within you? For a voice declares from Dan and proclaims wickedness from Mount Ephraim. Report it to the nations. And by the way, obviously this is talking about the Canaan, where the political state of Israel is. Report it to the nations now. Proclaim to Jerusalem, enemies are coming from a remote country, and they raise their voices against the cities of Judah. Like watchmen of a field, they are against her all around, because she has rebelled against me, declares Yahweh. Your ways and your deeds have brought these things upon you. This is your evil. This is your evil. How bitter, how it has touched your heart. Jeremiah 4, 3-8. So come out of her, my people. None of this information is worth anything if you haven't repented of your sins. The time is now to get right with our Creator. He has made a way through his Son, Yahusha, the Messiah. Believe in the testimony he gave us concerning our Heavenly Father and his coming kingdom. If you want to enter, you must walk as he walked, according to the Scriptures. It's time to cast off the lawlessness that Mystery Babylon has taught, and now the entire world follows. For more information on how to walk in the true faith that Messiah taught and the original apostles taught, see this video series, which also reveals the identity of the real Yahudim, or true Israel, in the last days. My little children, this is 1 John 2, 1-7. We're going to end with this. My little children, these things I write unto you, that you don't sin. And by the way, 1 John 3:4 declares that sin is transgression of the Torah, the law. And if any man sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Yahusha the righteous, and he is the atonement for our sins, and not for ours only, but also for the sins of the whole world. And hereby we do know that we are in him, if we keep his commandments. He that says, I know him, and keeps not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoso keeps his word, in him verily is the love of Elohim perfected. This is how we know that we are in him. He that says he lives in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but an old commandment which you've had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which you have heard from the beginning. So what's the point here, brothers and sisters? The true faith is faith in Messiah, faith in the Most High through his Son, the Messiah, Yahusha, and walking in obedience according to the Torah, which has not been done away with. Sure, the animal sacrifices and the Levitical priesthood has been put down for now. But as for keeping the Sabbaths, the feast days, eating biblically clean, brothers and sisters, this is the real exhortation here, because the real call here is to come out of her. Because those who do not come out of her and follow her sins will also drink of the cup. Yahweh will bless you and keep you. Yahweh will make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahweh will lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom, peace. I don't know exactly when this is going to happen, brothers and sisters, because again, the scriptures are clear that no man knows the day or the hour. But I do believe that we will see the destruction of the majority of the Middle East very soon. And hopefully this video here is a testimony as to why. Much love and blessings to you in the name of Yahusha. We're going to end with a song from Left and Right Ministries called Forgive Them. And the spirit of this, of course, is as the Yahudim were crucifying the Messiah, instead of having railing accusations against them, he simply said, Father, forgive them, that they don't know what they're doing.
To pretend that I've never done wrong, never sinned, but rather I know I've grieved your spirit, 'cause I drove the nails into your hands. I took the whip and made your scars, but I won't forget what you said while you died upon the cross. Oh, Father, forgive them for they know not. Forgive me, oh Yah, for you know my sin. Come on my knees to you, my El, I repent, 'cause I drove the nails into your hands. I took the whip and made your scars, but I won't forget what you said while you died upon the cross. Oh, Father, forgive them for they know not. Oh, 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 oh. Let my walls come down. Let my walls come down. Oh, Yahshua. Yahshua, desire only you now. into your hands. I took the whip and made your scars, but I won't forget what you said. While you died upon the cross, oh Father.